Out with the old and in with the new. It's time to save big at Room to Room's New Year's sale. Store-wide markdowns 50 to 70% off. No tax, 48-month special financing. It's a new year at Room to Room Furniture in Tupelo. There's no place like home.
When choosing a dentist for our family, Tupelo Smiles was the answer for us. They greet us with warm smiles right when we walk in the door, and they make us feel so welcome. We love Tupelo Smiles.
Mississippi's trusted weather experts. This is Mississippi Live Weather This Morning.
Good morning, and welcome into Mississippi Live Weather This Morning. Of course, thank you so much for tuning in, starting off your day with us, and trusting us as we head day in and day out of what is going to be coming into play this weekend. I'm meteorologist Maggye. We're going to be breaking down everything you need to know going into your weekend forecast. So thanks for joining us, and again, trusting us as we head into what is going to be a messy weekend and a messy go of things for a lot of us. Here's a look at current alerts across the area this morning. We got a lot of different weather winter alerts going on across the region, across the nation right now. But we got a lot of colors going on, right, in our current alerts. So I just want to show you, break down what's exactly happening county to county, because it is different depending on where you are. Winter storm warning in places like DeSoto, Tunica, and Coahoma County. Then those sitting to the east of that, the National Weather Service went ahead with an ice storm warning, because more likely to see ice and accumulations that could lead to some impacts in terms of power and travel. The further east that you go from Tunica, DeSoto, Tate County over into Quitman, Panola, Lafayette County, Pontotoc County, Lee County included in that ice storm warning as well. This goes into play on your Friday evening. It lasts all the way into your Sunday evening. So this will go all the way through a majority of your weekend. And so we're keeping an eye on that. We're keeping an eye on these counties. I think they're doing a good job, me and Matt agreeing with that as well, of what counties they're highlighting for that ice storm warning, because it is this section of our area, I would say the heart of our area, of North Mississippi, from Washington, Sunflower, LaFleur, Grenada, Pontotoc, Prentiss, Tishomingo, Alcorn County. This area is what we're really watching for a setup that could lead to, again, some pretty great ice accumulation that could lead to some problems. So it's really the heart of our area that we're watching for that potential, the greatest impact potential. And we'll get into that in just a minute as well. Another alerts that are going on for our Alabama counties, Marion and Lamar County winter weather advisory, and then Clay, Tibahaw, Lowndes, Choctaw, Talla County, still just seeing that winter storm watch, have not been upgraded to a winter storm warning or an ice warning as of right now. So that's what we're looking at for our current alerts. I want to zoom out and show you nationwide what's going on this morning, because it is a lot. If you thought we are seeing a lot of alerts, just zoom out and look across the central and southern United States this morning. We're looking at that winter storm warning, those counties in pink, the areas in pink, from portions of New Mexico, Albuquerque, New Mexico, good portion of Texas, almost the entire state of Oklahoma and Arkansas included in this, all the way stretching up into the Virginia. So this winter storm that's going to be impacting us is going to be impacting a good portion of the United States. The question is, though, what impact are you seeing from this? Some people, it's very cold air. That's cold air advisories all the way up to the north. We're going to be seeing that as well. That's just not one of our main impacts that we're watching as of right now, because in the near term, we're dealing with more of ice. So some of us getting a lot of snow farther up to our north. We're getting more ice here. So overall, a lot of the United States is going to be impacted with this as it continues to move across the area this weekend, and then continues to head off east as well. I want to show you this pretty soon in the live broadcast, because I want you to see our updated winter threats as we head tonight into your weekend. Here's a look at our confidence levels. Not much has changed yesterday into this morning. I haven't adjusted any of these because I still agree with all of them in terms of confidence level and then impact. Level 1, still the lowest of all of these, is going to be accumulating snowfall. Can't rule out a few flurries that you might see out there. Can't rule out a dusting in counties, not everybody, in counties that are touching the Tennessee state line. So very northern counties, yeah, I could see a dusting to a little bit of snowfall take place. but still a very low confidence level and a very low impact for a majority of the area because of this right here. We're not looking at majority snow. We're looking at a majority of ice accumulation and sleet. So a level 4 still with that, with a lot of our area going to be dealing with ice and sleet, that mix as we head over your weekend. Level 5 still with some thunderstorms possible with this. If some thunderstorms do take place as this continues to slide off to the east, it's going to be leading to greater accumulation of ice and sleet. We're not talking about necessarily severe weather, severe thunderstorms and hail, things of that nature. We're talking about thunderstorms that could lead to greater ice and sleet accumulation. And that is a level 5, because if that happens, that's going to be a very great impact. Level 5 also for travel impacts for most of us out there. Once this starts up later tonight, going into your weekend, not going to want to get out, not going to want to brace the icy conditions that are going to be ongoing. And then also sub-freezing temperatures for more than 2 days. A lot of it's going to be below freezing, especially Sunday into Monday. So that's why we're really going to be watching what happens over the weekend, because anything that falls is going to be sticking around Sunday into Monday with temperatures not getting above freezing. So a lot of different impacts, a lot of different facets with this ongoing. That's overall our confidence levels. And again, those peak impacts out there as well. Want to show you outside what's going on this morning, because that's looking at the weekend, right? Want to show you early look at that if you're tuning into our live broadcast, but that's this weekend. That's later on tonight. That's not this morning. Take a look at the roadways this morning. That's looking at Highway 7 over in Oxford. All those MDOT traffic cameras looking good to go out there. So you're good to go on the roadways this morning. You're good to go off to work, off to taking kiddos off to school, all of those things looking good to go this morning. Temperatures in the upper 30s in Oxford, all of us sitting above freezing this morning. So any light showers that happen, not going to be impactful in terms of winter precipitation. Here's a live look over in Amory. Again, looking good to go in all of those bridges and roadways as well. And temperatures in the 40s. So definitely warmer depending on where you are this morning. Here's a look at your first 12 hours ahead. Temperatures not fluctuating too much. We'll be in the 40s for a majority of your day across the area. Middle 40s for a lot of us. Some of us could be a little bit warmer than that. The further south that you go, Golden Triangle region look to be in the upper 40s. 42 by 5. And then you can see that 10% chance showing up by 8. Temperatures continuing to plummet from there. So it's really into, again, your evening hours when we're going to be watching this start to come about. So I just encourage you, keep tuning in, keep watching the 5 and 6 o'clock, especially the 10 o'clock. I think they'll have a lot to talk about going into the evening as we do this morning. But just these things are going to be a lot closer to happening, a lot closer to the area the further we get on today. Take a look. I'll show you that coming up on Futurecast. This is Friday at 3 p.m. I'm going to show you day to day. So this is big picture view of where the system is going to be going into the weekend. And then, of course, we're going to hone in a little bit closer to home. So here's a look. Futurecast going into your Friday afternoon. You are good to go. Good to go for picking the kiddos up from school, going and doing what you need to do this Friday afternoon, even into the evening hours. Watch as I shift this further into your Friday evening. This is going all the way till 10 o'clock. Now, yesterday, if you watched this, some high resolution data had it a little bit closer, but here's the thing, as more high resolution data comes in, these systems, our overall winter systems, are pretty slow. You can think snow is slow out there. So a lot of our models usually kind of overestimate when this is going to be in here and when this is going to be out. So that's why we say it's going to be a little bit later, mainly into the overnight hours. And also it's going to linger a little bit later into your Sunday. So this is starting Friday at 10, starting to see it really in portions of central Arkansas back into Oklahoma, but knocking on our doorstep some winter precipitation right across the Mississippi River as we head later on into this evening, and then continuing again into your overnight hours, slowly sliding in here. So if you're waking up on Saturday and you're not seeing anything. Don't think you're not going to be seeing anything all day. This is going to be slow go of things as we head into your Saturday, continuing to push in and starting mainly around North Mississippi, closer to the Tennessee state line before it pushes into the rest of us. Also, again, further south is going to be getting mainly rain out of this. As the further south we go from Jackson, off in the coast, Montgomery, and south of that. Where that line sets up is going to be a big question as we go over the next day or so here in North Mississippi. Don't want you to see that and think you're only going to be getting rain if you see yourself within those greens and oranges. Want you to mainly focus on the timing with this. So again, this continues into the back half of your Saturday. That's when we're watching a good portion of the area getting that mixed precipitation. This also looks to continue into your Sunday, and you can see those brighter reds. That's that potential of thunderstorms we're going to be watching that could lead to additional heavy accumulations in terms of ice or sleet. So this looks to continue into your Sunday morning as well for a good portion of the area before it finally slides out of here into the back half of Sunday. So once things really get to going, they're going to be around all the way into your Sunday morning before they finally decide to slide off to the east going into your Sunday evening. And that doesn't mean go and get out and about on your Sunday evening, because all of that's going to be in place on the ground, and cold conditions are going to be in place on Sunday and especially overnight into Monday. So we also have the potential of some refreeze situations out there as well. Coming up next, we'll talk more in depth of what to expect in North Mississippi. When exactly is this going to start for your area, and going into your Saturday, we'll have more of a zoomed in view of North Mississippi. Of course, we'll also look at what your peak impacts are going to be and where our models are putting the overall greatest impact for that ice accumulation. We're going to go over all of those details, so make sure to tune in with us. And of course, full look at your 7-day forecast coming up right after this.
Game day brings its ups and downs, celebration and disappointment, anxiety and relief, friends and enemies. You can always argue over who should have won, but everyone can agree on great food. Appetizers, entrees, drinks, party platters, or even the taste of sweet victory. There's something for every season at Eat With Us restaurants.
Right now, from the Room to Room Weather Center, here's meteorologist Maggye McAuley.
Hey, good morning. Welcome into Mississippi Live Weather on your Friday morning. The time now is 7:13. We have a whole lot to talk about and get into. Thanks as always for tuning in here to Mississippi Live Weather and for trusting us as your primary weather source as we get into a messy go of things that is going to be your weekend forecast. Take a look though out there right now. Our Mama Justice Doppler radar looking good to go this morning. So nothing impactful as you're headed off to school, work, whatever you got going on this morning. Not tracking any rain out there, and temperatures sitting above freezing as well. So if there are any showers, we're just looking at rain showers as of this morning. Want to give you a few live looks outside as well, dealing with a lot of clouds out there. Here's a live look over in Lee County, Tupelo. Lots of clouds again ongoing out of that camera, sponsored by Mitchell Cunningham Bowling. We love to get to see and show these cameras, also provided to us by the North Mississippi Storm Chasers. So we get to show you some ground truth about what's happening in the weather department. We are going to be utilizing these heavily as we head over the weekend as well to show you what's going to be ongoing. We'll show you outdoor conditions so you don't have to be getting outside embracing what's going to be ongoing. Here's a look, though, over in Lee County. Again, lots of clouds, temperatures in the upper 30s in Tupelo. Another live look over in Aberdeen, kind of same story. Lots of clouds as far as the eye can see out there building in all ahead of this system. And then temperatures in the 40s out there in Aberdeen. So we're seeing temperatures not warm today, but above freezing for a majority of your day ahead. Here's a look at your day planner. Temperature is going to be in the 40s all the way through your mid-morning for a majority of us, low 40s for a lot of us all the way through out your 11 o'clock hour. Not looking at any rain chances on here, but a whole lot of clouds sticking up in the forecast. High temperatures today, depending on where you are, all of us sitting above freezing. That's why I say any sprinkles that happen even this afternoon, not going to be impactful just yet. And temperatures mainly in the 40s, some 30s showing up though. South Haven, Tunica could try to stay in the 30s, but a lot of us in the 40s today. 44 Tupelo, 45 Houston, 48 Starkville, 48 down in Louisville as well. So high temperatures sitting in the 40s, colder than yesterday, but still above freezing. Let's take it hour by hour, shall we? Here's a look at one of our high resolution models that continue to come in, showing you the latest of what we can expect into the weekend. I'm going to take you all the way into your Saturday. So we're going to talk about when things are going to be starting up here in North Mississippi. Now through noon, looking good to go. Again, maybe a few sprinkles out there, but I showed you temperatures and they're all going to be sitting above freezing for a majority of your day. So good to go with any of those. Going into your evening, this is 6 o'clock. Dinner time, people getting off work, still looking good to go across the area as well. And even into Arkansas, you still can't see anything necessarily coming around 6 p.m. Here's the thing. If you were been watching us over the last few days, we did have a few models that were trying to put that wintry precip crossing over the Mississippi River around 6 o'clock. Now high resolution data coming in and putting that a little bit later. Like I said before, snow is slow. These winter systems are usually pretty slow creeping in, and then they take a while to get out. And models usually have a hard time adjusting for that. So I think it's going to be a little bit later. I think you are good to go around 6 o'clock, maybe even all the way through your 10 o'clock. But that's when things do start to get a little bit more questionable out here. This is Friday again, this evening at 10. That's when we start to see winter precip kind of over in Arkansas. I think the state of Arkansas is seeing that as we had 9, 10 o'clock and then trying to creep in our area, right? Trying to cross over the Mississippi River as we head further on into your evening. That's going to continue to take place overnight and then into your Saturday. But like I said, this system and winter systems are overall just really slow out there. Even into your Saturday morning, a lot of us could be waking up still with nothing ongoing. Don't let that fool you, though. It is on the way. Now, North Mississippi, better view of this. Going to be getting this a little bit better than everybody else into your Saturday morning from Tunica County all the way into Prentiss County, even Lee County, and those sitting off to the north. I know you see those blues out there. Don't let that fool you. Yes, this could start off with a little bit of snow on your Saturday morning. Can't rule out a few flakes the further north that you go closer to the Tennessee state line. But overall, throughout the day, your primary precipitation type for the most of the area is going to be that wintry mix. Because watch as I continue to head this on in the day, you can see that snow layer continuing to shift off to the north and that wintry mix continuing to settle in. That's what that pink color is. You can see that on our scale, that mix between sleet and freezing rain. And I think a lot of this is going to be starting off more of sleet before we transition to the potential of that freezing rain. Going into your Saturday, that's when things really start to pick up. So that's why I say, even though you are watching and you are looking at things on your Saturday morning that might not be ongoing across the area or for the entirety of the area, going into the back half of the day, look at this, our entire area getting at least something going into your Saturday evening. The overall question, I don't want you to think if you're in the green, like Starkville seeing green, which means rain here on our future cast, Louisville, Columbus, Amory, Eupora. I don't want you to think, oh, I'm seeing green, so I'm good. Overall, we're going to be really taking an eye on this line, watching that. You might see my cat in the background. She likes to sit in here with me. I'm going to tell her to move a little bit. That's what you get for having an at-home studio, right? Anyway, Futurecast, you're seeing this going into the evening. And then overall, we're going to be seeing or watching where that line is, right? Where that line between that mixed precipitation is going into your Saturday evening. So this line between green and pink, where that sets up, is where we're going to be watching for the potential of that majority of ice accumulation, that peak impact that we're watching here in North Mississippi. So keeping an eye on that. Again, this is going to continue into your Saturday evening and then even into the start, at least, of your Sunday. Again, moving a little bit slower, things continuing the Saturday evening. The further south and east that you go, though, I will say from Noxubee County into Aliceville, yes, could see a lot of rain from this, but still can't rule out the potential of some ice as well. But we're going to be keeping an eye again on that main line that's going to be setting up somewhere within northeast Mississippi. Where that line is where we could see the potential of main impacts, greater ice accumulation. So keep an eye on that. Want to show you what we mean by that. Here's a look at where a warm layer is setting up. Again, that's what's crushing our snow dreams, right? Here's snow where we see below freezing from cloud all the way to the ground. We have a warm layer ongoing in the atmosphere that's causing us to not see that snow, but instead to see these two middle things for a majority of us, that mixed precipitation. Now, the closer you are to that line, the closer you are to just seeing plain rain, the thicker your warm layer is going to be, and that's when we see the majority of freezing rain out there. That's why we're watching where that line is going to be setting up. Farther away from it, you're going to be seeing sleet. That's still impactful, but again, really watching where that freezing rain is going to be that has the potential to freeze on things like power lines, trees, things of that nature. Primary precipitation type across the United States. Just want to continue to show you snow, the primary precipitation type well off to our north. Majority of us here across North Mississippi, even into southern Arkansas and Texas, seeing that mix of things, that wintry mix, and then further off to our south, there is going to be seeing some showers. What to expect through your Sunday. This is a look at your primary precipitation type all the way through your Sunday. Majority of us seeing that wintry mix, right? Even below that orange color you see is that wintry mix layer from all the way into northwest Mississippi, stretching into places like Tippahah County into Hamilton, Alabama. Now, the further south and east you go, yes, you could see more rain out of this, but that's your primary precipitation type. That doesn't mean you couldn't see just zero of a wintry mix. Still going to be honing in on this over the next few days, or the next 12 to 24 hours, that peak impact area that we have now stretching from Greenville, Cleveland, Greenwood, Grenada, Bruce, Tupelo, Red Bay, Iuka, and Corinth. This area is what we're really going to be watching for of that peak ice accumulation. Where is that area going to be setting up? Again, it's really going to be where that rain into freezing rain layer is going to be setting up. So where are we seeing that 32 degrees and below line setting up is where we're going to be seeing those overall peak impacts of what to expect out here. Want to show you this as well, because we are looking at kind of a blend of models of where they're going to be setting up over ice impacts throughout your weekend. Again, we're kind of honing in on the heart of North Mississippi right now. This has those extreme impacts sitting from places like Alcorn County, Prentiss County, Northern Lee County, all the way into Grenada County for those most extreme impacts. What does that mean? That means this area, it's highlighting this area for ice accumulations, 1/2 inch to potentially 1 inch or greater. Now, we're going to continue to hone in on this. We're going to continue to show you what it's looking like. But again, this is the area they're highlighting. Matt, do you still, Matt, of course, our Chief Meteorologist, Matt Lawpon, here to join in on the conversation, looking at everything this morning. Are you still agreeing with this area that ice impact is kind of highlighting?
Yes, I just want to be careful that one thing on all the ice impact is because of the high impact nature of convective activity, thunder something, and it does look like there's enough cape that could be the case. I really watched the east end of that area. Amory does not show a high impact, Starkville does not show a high impact, and Louisville does not show a high impact. But the fact there are going to be some thunderstorms over each of those spots in all likelihood, if the freezing line is even a little bit different, and that's one of the things we're going to be talking about at 7:30, the impact could be very, very great. And you could have within the same county the difference between very little, 1/10 of an inch of ice or less, and 1 inch or more of ice. And that transition is between the same county. If we end up with the thunder ice, which is on the table as a possibility. So we'll be talking more about that at 7:30.
Yeah, I totally agree, though. The line between really greater impacts and lesser is going to be the overall question. And again, it could be county to county, which is really hard to nail down prior to time. So
Absolutely.
Thanks
And
for
because
that.
of the thunderstorm nature of it, it really honestly, if it goes that way, and we'll look at that potential again. We talked about that last night. But because of the
Yeah.
thunderstorm nature, you know how this goes. Here at my house, which is a mile away from the TV station I used to work at, they could see half an inch or more difference than I do if we have a thunderstorm that comes overhead. So big differences over small distances because really the headline with this. Of course, we'll talk about that at 7:30.
Yep. Thanks, Matt, for adding in. I also want to show you winds before we get overall to your impacts and winter threats, and then we'll get into the 7:30. But this is something to note as well. Now, these could be a little bit greater depending on your overall storm activity. Again, that thunderstorm threat that Matt was talking about as we head into your weekend. Overall, though, this highlighting wind gusts that could be up to 30 miles an hour at times through your Sunday. This is going to be very impactful if we see, or where we see, I should say, ice accumulations the greatest, because that ice accumulations makes trees heavier, makes power lines heavier, and then you add wind to it, and you could see trees down, power lines down when things get going like that. So definitely another thing we're keeping an eye on is how high winds are going to be getting on Sunday with these showers and potential storms that move through as well. So make sure to keep joining in with the conversation. Again, if you have any questions, especially as we get into our 7:30 broadcast, make sure to put them there. We're going to be, of course, keeping an eye on them as well. And I'm going to move things around so I can make sure that I'm watching. But thanks again for tuning in. I love when you guys say good morning to everybody, especially when we have a large viewership like this, everybody kind of adding into the conversation. Here's a look overall at your winter threats, still kind of same levels as last night, with that lowest threat being limited accumulating snowfall. Can't rule out the potential of a few flakes to a dusting. The further north you are, mainly counties touching the Tennessee state line. Most of us, if not all of us, not seeing that, seeing this right here, accumulation of ice and sleet from this. That's at a level 4. 2 level 5s that are a little bit different from yesterday to today is some thunderstorms possible. Again, that leads to greater ice accumulation. So we're going to be watching where those are going to be setting up, and greater ice accumulation leads to this right here, greater travel impacts and also power and outage impacts as well. But travel impacts likely for most of us across the area, and also can't rule out and look at that sub-freezing temperatures for really over 2 days, especially Sunday into Monday for a majority of our area. So definitely some cold conditions. Here's a look at your weekend forecast, though. We are looking at temperatures in the 30s out there for Saturday and Sunday for most of us. Still watching where, again, that freezing degree line is going to be setting up for Saturday. So some of us could be a little bit warmer. Some of us could be a little bit cooler. Going around 30 out here for your Sunday, Monday in the 20s, and then Tuesday in the 30s, Wednesday in the 30s as well. So we do get a little bit warmer as we head Tuesday into Wednesday. That will help those melting efforts as we head closer to time. I just encourage you, though, keep checking up with the forecast. We'll be live, me and Matt, coming up really in the next few minutes, talking back and forth of what's going to be going on, what models are looking like this morning, coming up at 7:30. So make sure to tune in and join the conversation over at 7:30. Any final thoughts,
And one more
Matt?
thing.
Sorry.
One more thing.
Yep.
We're going to leave the Facebook and all the other streams going here. I'm going to put something else behind the scenes so that we can do that, because we've had some issues with the chat going down on us. And so if it's still working right now, I don't want to take the chat down.
Okay, so you just want to continue? Yes.
So no, what we will do is we'll run the last break, and then I can pop it, I think, to my local side here. And that's what we'll do so that you can prep everything and we can get ready to rehash here in just a moment. All right?
All right. All right. Got it.
Okay. We'll see you at 7.
March 24th, 2023 was a normal Friday. You know, we knew the weather was not good, but we needed to take shelter, and we didn't have shelter. My husband and almost 2-year-old daughter, Ethan and Riley, they did lose their lives in the storm. We're still recovering from it. We'll always be recovering from it. Matt Lopon cares about the community. He's not just there to collect a paycheck. I feel like Matt Lopon has proven himself trustworthy.
I'm glad we got the chance to check and make sure that could be fixed real quick. So we got that ready to go there. So this is my direct feed to my laptop here back at the house that kind of powers everything I have at the home studio, so that Maggye has the ability to kind of get things all ready for the studio back there at the station. So I'm not gonna be able to show a lot of cool stuff with this, but I can show again some of what we talk about here. You're watching Mississippi Live Weather. Current time is 7:29. We'll start our 7:30 show here in a minute, so we have the opportunity to kind of get everything behind the scenes up and ready for that. So I'm gonna, while we're doing that, while she is kind of getting her graphics all set up, I'm gonna get the 7:30 show kind of up behind the scenes, so you get to watch a little bit of the behind everything that's going on with this as we get ready here. I gotta find her 6:30 a.m. show in here. We do, for kind of behind the scenes purposes. Where are we at? I see 6. Where's Maggye 6:30? There's Maggye 6:30. Okay. So that is then ready behind the scenes when the time comes here in a minute. So I'll be watching for Maggye, your camera, and I don't think she can actually probably hear me, to be honest. But we'll be watching for her camera. It looks like she is ready here in a minute. And then we'll kind of officially launch the 7. Can't hear me? Check, check, check. It's more than a check volume. Okay, one moment. Check, check, check. Interesting. Wait a second. We'll go ahead and start the show.
Look at Wanda, ready to rock her big presentation. But first, lunch. Look at Wanda, ready to rock her big presentation. But first, lunch. Sweet Pepper's Deli. Delicious, celebratory, but is it quick? The Cobb salad. Tender oven roasted chicken, topped with cheese. Prepared, plated, and served in 6 minutes? Is this for real? Well, of course. Well done, Wanda. Sweet Pepper's Deli. Yes, ma'am. Life is sweet.
Mississippi's trusted weather experts. This is Mississippi Live Weather this morning.
Hey, good morning. Good morning. Welcome into Mississippi Live Weather this morning. Thanks as always for tuning in with us, or if you're on our live streaming channels, for sticking in with us as well. We have a lot to talk about. I'm here. Also, our Chief Meteorologist, Matt Lopon, is here behind the scenes as well to discuss everything you need to know as we head into that all-important weekend forecast. Of course, we have winter alerts region-wide, Matt, that are going to be going into effect today. Ice definitely remains our top threat, and travel impacts likely with some power impacts likely for that area that we're going to be watching for the greatest accumulation.
Absolutely. And hopefully you heard me okay. I see someone mentioning here in the chats, like, we've had technical issues all week. Let's just say this. I'm next to my living room directing a full show with a little thing here. And we've done pretty good, all things considered, for all the things we've tried that you, by the way, probably have not seen on a local TV station ever before in this area. So all things considered, it's not perfect. And if you're wanting perfect out of Mississippi Live Weather, we're probably never going to be perfect, but we're always going to be interesting, and hopefully we'll be as right as we can be. The thing I was just checking behind the scenes there when I was trying that is, just in case we had some kind of major infrastructure collapse, am I still able to send my video and audio signal to the app? I can't ever test that unless the system's completely down, like what we had a second ago there, where I completely isolate the studio out of it. And I largely was able to kind of make it work. We should be able to do that with Maggie's feed if I lose everything here, and we should be able to do that with my feed at the house. So we are independent enough that, again, if the station goes down, we can still broadcast to your phone. So again, not perfect, But perfect is not a part of a forecast like this, Maggie, right? We would love to get this just right, but a winter mix is just that. It's a mix, it's a mess, and those alerts behind you, I think, really define that, right?
Yeah, no, that's right. I think that's why you're going to see us talk about areas and impacts more than specifics, because that's what's going to be a greater impact and a greater just knowledge in general to you and to me that moving forward. But I like what Matt said, never perfect, but always interesting. And that's what we are here at Mississippi Live Weather. That's what the weather is going to be as we head into the weekend as well. We're looking at a lot of different colors here on this map overall at our current winter alerts. Again, these go into effect some this afternoon, some this evening, and we got a lot of colors going on right now, right? So a few of these, Tunica, Coahoma, and DeSoto County under that winter storm warning. A majority of the area, though, you probably got this alert yesterday like I did on my phone, especially if you have the Mississippi Weather Live Weather app downloaded and handy and alerts on for your area, is this ice storm warning for a majority of us. Bolivar, LaFleur, Grenada, Yalobusha, Lafayette, Union, Tippah, Alcorn County. So all these counties that are in that deepest purple color under that ice storm warning, I think we've been talking about it over the last really few days, or really maybe day and a half. My days are really messed up by this point. But the National Weather Service has done a pretty good job at highlighting where the potential for that greatest impact is going to be. That ice storm warning kind of impacting that as well, really through the heart of our area. Could we see that shift back and forth, talking about the very southern half of this where those purples go to blues? Yes, but still watching the heart of our area right now for some pretty big impacts when in terms of ice accumulation. There's a few other colors on here as well. Of course, Marion and Lamar County under that winter weather advisory, and into Clay, Lowndes, Oktibbeha, Choctaw, Tallow, Winston County under that winter storm watch. The National Weather Service in Jackson has not upgraded them to a warning. I'm sure they're looking out for things today. So that's overall what's going on within our specific area in terms of alerts. Again, a lot of this going into effect this afternoon and this evening, lasting through the weekend all the way into Sunday evening. So these last through the weekend ahead. That's a look at the alerts. Going to show you a broader scale of those as well, just to show you how many people are impacted by these winter weather alerts. You can see that winter storm warning if I zoom out and kind of adjust this a little bit here. But that winter storm warning, those areas in pink from Albuquerque, New Mexico, Dallas, Texas, a good portion of the state of Oklahoma, Arkansas, Missouri, and the entirety of the state of Kentucky under that winter storm warning. So we're not the only ones being impacted by this, but it's just the question of what is your impact. Some of us more north into northern sections of the United States, like Nebraska, Missouri, going into Kentucky, their impact is more of snow. The further south that you slide, like here in North Mississippi, our impact has been shifted into more of that ice situation out here. You can see that adjusting. That's Chief Meteorologist Matt Lopon working behind the scenes out here. But overall, again, your current alerts stretching across the nation out here this morning. Want to show you temperatures out there today. Not very impactful right now, right? Here's a look at Mama Justice radar. I know a lot of us are waking up. You're probably watching this with a lot of anticipation about what's going to be going on into the weekend. But I just want to encourage you that today is mainly going to be quiet out there for a majority of your day. And that starts with this morning. Mississippi Live, again, Mama Justice radar out there this morning, mainly quiet across the board, not looking at anything that should impact your travel plans. And even if we see a few showers this morning into the afternoon, temperature is going to be staying mainly above freezing, just like they are right now. Some 30s on the board out there. 37 in South Haven, 39 Senatobia, 38 in Holly Springs, 36 up in Alcorn County or in Corinth, and 35 in Iuka. Further south that you slide, those some 50s, or really not 50s, but upper 40s, kind of checking in from Belzona into Atala County, Kosciuszko, dealing with that as well. So a lot of us starting off in the 40s this morning, definitely above freezing, and we'll stay there into our afternoon as well. So quiet conditions are the story, at least this morning. Take a look outside as well. These are cameras we're really going to be using, our MDOT traffic cameras. The cameras also lended to us by the North Mississippi Storm Chasers. These are going to be very impactful for us and very useful for us as we head into the weekend. So we get to show you guys some ground truth of what's going to be happening into your weekend. We will show you outside across the area so you do not have to go outside, right? Tune into Mississippi Live Weather. You'll see everything you need to know about what's going on across North Mississippi into your weekend. Here's a live look, though, in Blue Springs, looking at 22 in all directions. Good to go there. Temperatures in the upper 30s over in Blue Springs. Another look at a bunch of NDOT traffic cameras over in Oxford. And again, temperatures upper 30s there as well, coming in at a few of our cool spots on the map. You can see, though, cars on the roadways, everything looking good to go as you're hitting the roadways this morning if you have not already. Your first 12 hours ahead, temperature is going to be mainly in the 40s today, cooler than yesterday, but still sitting above freezing for a majority of your day, right? 44 by 2, some of us a little bit warmer than that into the afternoon as well, low 40s by 5. And then you can see where things do start to come into play with rain chances continuing as we head into the evening hours. So Matt, I know you would agree a lot of today is just going to be that anticipation of everybody paying attention and wanting to know where things are, but things really don't start for us until we head really overnight into early Saturday.
Absolutely. And for the western part of the state, it ratchets up the whole time. The eastern part, I think the Sunday thunderstorms are where the trickiness comes in. We'll be right back after this to break down everything you need to know as Mississippi Live Weather continues here from the Room to Room Weather Center right after this.
At First Choice Bank, we know you can't always make it before the bank closes. With our integrated teller, you can talk to a live person as late as 7 p.m. on weekdays and noon on Saturdays. It's not just an ATM, it's an ITM. First Choice Bank, your choice for banking.
As a bankruptcy firm, Mitchell, Cunningham, and Bowling realizes many people are worried about their finances. We're here to guide you through the next steps to restart your life with easy video appointments. New clients don't have to leave home to get information about becoming debt-free. Also, convenient in-office appointments are available at the low cost of $340 upfront for a Chapter 13. You can be on your way to being debt-free. Contact Mitchell, Cunningham, and Bowling today or visit our website at mcdebtfree.com. We are here to help you.
Out with the old and in with the new. It's time to save big at Room to Room's New Year's sale. Store-wide markdowns 50 to 70% off. No tax. 48-month special financing. It's a new year at Room to Room Furniture in Tupelo. There's no place like home.
Right now, from the Room to Room Weather Center, here's meteorologist Maggye McAuley.
Hey, welcome back into Mississippi Live Weather this morning. The time now is 7:41 out here on your Friday morning. And of course, we are breaking down everything you need to know going into.
Oh, wrong one. Sorry, Maggye.
No, it's okay. Matt's popping up the chat for me. Of course, we want to know everything that's going on within you guys' minds out there, all the questions you have. Of course, we're going to be monitoring this chat. If you got any major questions out there, make sure to just go ahead and hop them in or put them in the chat and add to the conversation. I know you guys are talking kind of back and forth even between people out there. We appreciate you guys' appreciation, saying thank you for letting you know everything you need to know. Here's a look, though, at primary precipitation type across the United States going into your weekend. This has not shifted very much in terms of what we showed you yesterday. Overall, mainly snow well off to our north, right? Again, this is subject to change, but overall, this is what it's looking like going into your weekend. Colorado, of course, Missouri into the Boot Heel, very northern Arkansas and higher elevations around northeast and northwest Arkansas, going further north. Primarily snow from this, right? But the further south that you dive, especially into southern Arkansas, northern Illinois, going in, or not northern Illinois, Louisiana, my brain's already fried this morning, going into Texas, and then stretching, of course, into North Mississippi, seeing that mix of things, that wintry mix starting to take place where ice becomes our primary concern. Again, stretching in a good portion of the central United States as well. That stretches all the way up into Tennessee, where we're looking at the potential of some ice accumulation. Of course, the further south that you go, that's more along the lines of the coast, that's when we start to see the potential of just plain rain. Here's the problem we have. Here's what we've been watching over the past few days is a warm layer up within the atmosphere. What this warm layer does is crushes all of these fluffy white snow great dreams that we have. This layer, that snow layer where it's freezing from the cloud all the way to the ground, that's well off to the north. we're dealing with this warm layer here in our atmosphere that causes us to have these two middle things primarily as we head into your weekend. And depending on how close you are overall to that rain factor, to that freezing degree line, depends on which one of these you have as well. So further away from that warm layer where it's a little bit shallower, where we see flurries down from the cloud, falling through a warm layer, able to refreeze before they hit the surface. That's what we call sleet. Usually comes down in little pellets. You can see it. It bounces off the ground. Then when we get a little bit further into that warm layer, the warm layer is a little bit thicker within our atmosphere. That's when we see things fall still from snow off the cloud, able to fully thaw out to rain, but then it's below freezing at the surface and it's able to freeze on contact. That's what we see that causes a lot of issues on things like power lines, trees, such as that nature, as we see sleet able to bounce off those things, freezing rain, freezing on contact. So again, that's the two things we're going to be watching for our primary precipitation type, especially where that freezing rain sets up.
Have you looked at profiles, atmospheric profiles a lot? I'll be perfectly honest. I haven't looked probably as much as I should, simply because we're so close to the freezing point. It's almost like depth of cold layer matters a little bit less. It's less likely that, you're going to be into a full refreeze sleet situation because we're so close. That's what puts rain and freezing rain, in my opinion, as the two most likely types.
Yeah, no, I agree. I look at it, but it really, I know we've been talking about it, but wherever that line sets up is really where we're going to be watching between that shift of rain to freezing rain. And we talked about just how small that shift can be and how small that line can be in terms of impacts. And I think that's what we're really going to be watching for. But again, that profile really, in the heart of our area, it's more shifting into this nature of things. Again, here's what to expect, your primary precipitation type. I think a lot of us still looking at a wintry mix, but still off to the south and east could see more rain than anything. And we'll look for those slight shifts as more high resolution data comes in, especially as we head into your Sunday, right? This is a multi-day event. We got tonight, Saturday, and Sunday. So high resolution data still not necessarily stretching into where we need it to be, but able to show at least Saturday out there. But I don't know. What are you thinking about this, Matt? What are your thoughts?
I don't disagree with what you have there. I still think you could have both peak impacts and low confidence on this. And that's where I am for a portion of that graphic they're showing right there, is where there's a potential for peak impacts, but I just don't have high confidence. And here's the reason why. Here's kind of what we're talking about. And this is an ugly graphic I'll show you, but this is an example of an
sounding data.
Yeah, I got sounding data. So hold on, it's going to flip that graphic to the one you see there behind me, right there. So this is what we call an atmospheric sounding. And this little elbow you see here is what we're watching. If you were to draw a line right there where my arm is, right? This is what we call the 0 degree isotherm. What does that mean? This is the freezing line, essentially, 0 degrees Celsius. And you see this area on this side, this is warmer than freezing. This is colder than freezing. And so you have this big area of warm right there, right? This is that snow eater on just basically, if you sent up a weather balloon and it plotted the temperature and the moisture and the wind as it went up, this is what this kind of represents here. This is that big snow eater. But down there toward the bottom on that, let's see if it'll let me zoom this in. Oh, it will. Oh man, I should have just done that to begin with. Okay, we'll try this discussion again. So this blue dashed line here is the freezing point, and right there is the fight between, hey, that was just rain, and that was potentially multi-day crippling ice. Right there. I picked one spot on the map here, and that spot was pretty close to Tupelo area, where it showed those slightly above freezing numbers. If there's even just a little bit of what we call shallow cold air, because this is not thick layer cold air, right? If that is even just a little bit colder, a degree or two, this turns from, oh man, thank God that was just rain, to something much more rough. That's where our concern is. And I know that that's where the concern is in the chat with everyone kind of talking next to me there as well. So going back to that graphic that Maggye was showing, I would say this is in a lot of ways almost identical. We adjusted the rainfall farther north. I don't disagree with that at all here. But if I show you kind of another one of these behind the scenes projections, and I'll do that here in just a second. So we kind of I ruined my viewpoint on that. I'm trying to fix it. you will see very quickly that there's a zone here, Red Bay, Tupelo, Amory, back toward Kosciuszko, where it could potentially be just rainfall. But not all of our projections agree on that. So that's what we're going to break down now here. Hey, I see the drummer there. I can't remember if that's the Fit drummer on YouTube saying the perfect storm. We can still be hopeful that it's perfectly warm in some locations, but Maggie's got it up there, unfortunately. I think in some form or fashion, between Houston and up here around Senatobia, somebody picks up 1.5 inches or more of ice. Hopefully it's not her. Hopefully it's not me. Hopefully it's not you. I don't want it to be anybody. But that is one of the things that we are unfortunately going to be contending with this, is the fact that somebody's going to pick up some fairly significant ice. So I'm going to go to my behind the scenes stuff. Maybe while we're doing that, we'll look at some of those other impact. I'll let you pull up some of those other impact graphics there as well. Because those, significant impacts are a possibility. But this is kind of my site I liked. I forecasted off this site since I was in college. There are a lot of different websites where you can pull up models. This is the College of DuPage, based out of DuPage, Illinois, up there. And we're looking at temperatures, surface temperatures in the pre-dawn hours of early Sunday morning here. And you will see that this shows a large area. I'll zoom it in, just to kind of calibrate our thoughts for a moment. This shows from basically Amory at 33 degrees, and the freezing point I got my monitors here are a little too bright. I got to turn the brightness down on it. Basically all the way to Yalobusha County at the freezing point there in Grenada. Amory to Yalobusha County, that's a 2-degree temperature swing. That is kind of the wiggle zone on all of this, from do we have rain or do we have ice, is almost, that's a large wiggle room. Unfortunately, we don't want that much wiggle room, and it certainly makes forecasting this very, very difficult. And that, by the way, is one of our models, not necessarily my most reliable model. Let's go ahead and go through them. As I keep joking, I'm an apologist for the European. Let's take a look at that one. So this one, oh man, see, perfect example here, right? This one is colder than it was last night for some spots, or has been the last couple of days, especially up here in the northern part of the state. And I apologize if this isn't prettier, but I can either give you the information in an ugly way, or it becomes very, very laborious to pull up and compare these models back and forth in our projections in the prettier way to show this. But, this has 37 in Columbus at, 3 p.m. on Saturday, and 31 in Tupelo. I want to show you the Tupelo. Again, Columbus, we are hopeful. There's just so much data that shows you just a little above freezing. I'm hopeful that you're in good shape in Columbus and Louisville and in Macon. That's why I'm not talking much about you. But watch how this temperature just goes back and forth. Again, I'm watching the Tupelo temperature because, not just because we're based in Tupelo, but because it is just one that flops back and forth in these projections, below freezing, then above freezing. And then, early Sunday morning, back below freezing by mid-morning Sunday, as we have, precipitation, ongoing at that point in time. And the potential that it could be icy precipitation. But one of the concerns is that it could be thunder something. And that's what this represents here. This is one of the ways we look at fuel behind the scenes. It's what we call most unstable CAPE. And that's a scenario where we're feeding these showers with something that could provide them and cause them to be thunder something. And so that's always a concern when that's the case. Now, this does show that line, when we're back here below freezing on this particular projection, this is one of the good things. And if we're looking for good signs and bad signs, and that's how we're going to make our way through understanding this is a good sign. This has the majority of the convective activity occurring slightly ahead of the coldest temperatures. Now, thinking of theoretical atmospheric model, that's where we would expect it to be, but that has not been exactly the way it is lined up on all our projections. So again, Maggye, there's a lot more we can break down with this, but I want to say that that's part of the reason why there's always going to be uncertainty on this, because of where that freezing line lands. The thunderstorm, as you could see, that possibility is the reason we're uncertain on that there. But the reason we're not level 5 on confidence on accumulating ice and sleet is because if we end up with the thunder, whatever, being just thunder rain, then that helps us tremendously. And hopefully that lines up. We'll talk more about that here in a couple of minutes as well. Let's go over the winter threats. Let's look a little bit at the 7-day forecast, and we're going to break down the timeline on the way all the precipitation comes in hour by hour coming up after that. So that graphic you have right there will go, and then we'll take a brief break.
Okay. Let's look at your weather threats again. We talk about threat levels, and Matt hit that on the head as well, because this forecast has shifted so much over the past week. It's going to continue to shift at least ever so slightly as we head over the next 12 to 24 hours. So when we talk about our confidence and our threat levels, that's really the best way we can communicate to you what we think is going to be ongoing into your weekend. So here's a look at that. Still that level 1 confidence level, lowest of that for limited accumulating snowfall. Yes, we could see maybe some flakes at least starting off on your Saturday for our most northern counties touching the Tennessee state line, maybe a dusting, I would say, possible for them, but a majority of us seeing nothing of the sort, seeing more of this right here, accumulating ice and sleet potentially. Again, that level 4, keeping it at level 4, not going to level 5, just because we're still waiting to see where exactly that freezing degree line sets up, to see if a majority of us will see that accumulating ice and sleet or see more of potential of that thunderstorms. Again, still watching for the potential of thunderstorms sitting somewhere within our area. The big question is, where does it set? And especially in terms of that freezing degree line, because that can add into our accumulating ice and sleet. Level 5 for impacts to your travel. You're not going to want to get out and about really into the overnight hours of Friday, Saturday, Sunday, even for potentially Monday as well. So travel impacts likely for most, with ice potentially on roadways and refreezing situations as we head overnight into Monday as well. So that's something that you're going to want to take into account for today. While things are still quiet, have what you need as we head over the next few days. And then also those sub-freezing temperatures. In terms of temperatures, let's talk about what that looks like in your 7-day forecast. 40s today, and then we'll see 30s into your day tomorrow. Again, about an average is 32. Some of us a little bit cooler than that, some of us a little bit warmer than that. The question is, where does that line set up? And that's what we're going to be going over in the next few hours, or the next few minutes. I hope we're not the next few hours, but you never know with me and Matt. Okay, 30 degrees out there on your Sunday. Still seeing that wintry mix continuing into your front half of Sunday, and then Monday and Tuesday. Things get very cold on Monday. Look at that. We're looking at temperatures starting off in, for some cases, the single digits on Tuesday, in the teens for a lot of us out there on your Monday. So very cold conditions setting up after this, where things that hung around on your weekend going to be sticking around for Monday, and then the potential for them to start to melt on your Tuesday with more sunshine, temperatures above freezing. And then into Wednesday, we do get above freezing as well. So that's overall look at your 7-day forecast. Of course, we're going to run the break, and when we come back, we'll have everything you need to know, breaking down more of where that freezing degree line is setting up, and just breaking down more of that weekend forecast coming up after this.
Growing up, Gabe was naturally curious. When he began to discover weather, Gabe just didn't want to know what was happening, but he wanted to know why it was happening. Gabe became fascinated with tornadoes, and it impacted his life. He wanted to pursue a career in meteorology. Even though Gabe grew up in Alabama, Mississippi has now become his home and his family. And one thing about Gabe is he keeps his family safe.
Okay, welcome back. I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Lawpon, alongside our meteorologist Maggye McCauley, kind of getting things working here behind the scenes. You're watching Mississippi Live Weather this morning. Current time is 7:58. We know some folks getting up and going kind of early in the day. We're going to get to your questions here in the Room to Room Weather Center in a minute, but the best way and probably easiest way to talk about this is showing you the alerts as they stand right now. Not really anything that has changed over the last they've changed a lot over the last 24 hours. Haven't really changed a lot over the last 12 hours. Winter storm warnings back in the northwest part of the state, well into Arkansas. Huge issues for locations back that direction there. Most of us under an ice storm warning. Quitman County, you can see there, all of those other locations until 6 p.m. Sunday. And yes, the duration of this event starts late tonight, pre-dawn tomorrow morning, and extends all the way in to like latter part of Sunday. But here's what you need to know. For a lot of us, it will not be frozen stuff the entire time. But for some of us, it will be. I'm going to bring in the other member of our broadcast team this morning. Of course, that'd be our meteorologist, Maggye McCauley, back there in the Senatobia area. You're up in Tate County. Prayers for y'all guys that that everything goes your way. But clearly there are concerns that this could get kind of rough, right?
Yeah, no, that's right. And I think we're watching between.
Oh.
That's okay. You'll see a lot of that in the coming days. We getting everything together. Again, Matt said it earlier. He said it best. We won't be perfect, but we'll be interesting. And that's going to be the story going forward. But I think he hit it on the head. We're watching here in Northwest Mississippi. I think we're watching between us, where I'm sitting here in Senatobia and Tate County, and Lee County. This is the area that we're watching in all those counties in purple for the potential of some ice accumulations that could cause some power outages, that could cause some travel disruptions, especially. So that's really what we're going to be watching for in the coming hours, really tomorrow, and then also even lingering into your Sunday as well. So Matt's pulling up some things behind the scenes. Of course, we're watching for the potential of maybe a few storms with this as well that could add into accumulation if it lines up or where that freezing degree line is. Now, a lot of it, like that forecast fuel right there, keeping it a little bit south of that, and the better fuel well to our south, where it's just going to be mainly rain out there. But that teeter-tottering back and forth to that freezing degree line, that could add to that accumulation heavily. Wouldn't you say, Matt?
Absolutely. It is really I said last night, it's the X factor, the Y factor, the Z factor, and the Q factor, because where those thunderstorms happen, you always have this happens all months of the year, not just like this. You have locally higher amounts. It's how your neighbor might get an inch of rain. I say neighbor in a relative sense, but someone 2-3 blocks over gets half an inch of rain, because you can have just such vast differences on rainfall accumulations. And so if you then say, hey, the impacts with the rain that falls is that it could freeze, those localized impacts can be drastically different. First thing I'll say about this, based on our strike model, that is farther south than it had it last night. Yeah. So if you're talking about a positive trend, that is a positive and not a positive at the same time. It's farther south because that means there's a little bit more cold air, which enhances the potential in icing to a certain extent, but it starts removing the thunder ice portion of it a little bit for some other locations. So we're watching for these trends. That is both a positive and not a positive sign at the same time. We'll look at some other projections related to that in a minute, but convective activity this close to a snow event is a nightmare for me, not necessarily, obviously this is impact, but it's a nightmare because that tells me that there's a high chance of messing this forecast up. So the instability there, obviously one of those concerns. How about you know where you have Futurecast in here? Go ahead and walk through the strike model. And do you have temperatures on that as well? On kind of, do you have the zoomed in version or just the wide version?
I just have the wide version. I have the zoomed in version with the HER. Would you rather me show the strike though through the whole weekend, or do you want me to show the HER up to Saturday?
Let's actually, if you don't mind, do you mind if we pop over to my workspace for a second and do that? Show it on wide here. Here, show it on wide and then load. If you type in yesterday's date 1-22, we'll pull up my show. But show the wide one you have there real quick.
Okay.
So we can get kind of overall
this
setup.
Yes. Let me go ahead and redo this. So this is looking at overall timing for everybody going into the weekend, right? So this is more of looking like the timing all the way through Sunday, then exactly what precipitation you're going to be looking like. So here's a look at one of our models. This is our strike model. This starts at 3 today. As I said, quiet today. You're going to be getting through your morning and your evening commute with no hiccups. Going into your evening, that's when things start to pick up, especially over in Arkansas. These systems are usually pretty slow, and models kind of have a hard time adjusting for that, putting them in a little bit earlier and then putting them out a little bit earlier as well. all of our timing has adjusted a little bit later, going into the overnight hours of your Friday and then having this linger into Sunday. So this is starting around 10 p.m., mainly in central Arkansas, but knocking on our doorstep for folks closer to the Mississippi River. Continuing overnight, I would say starting more in our very northern half of our area and here in North Mississippi, for folks touching the Tennessee state line, getting in on that activity earlier on your Saturday than the rest of us. But if you're waking up on Saturday morning, you're probably going to tune in to us. I hope you would if you're tuning in now. And you're going to think, where is my activity? I'm not seeing anything, so I'm not going to see anything. Watch, this is going to continue to slide east into the day on Saturday. I'm thinking noon and on, a lot of us getting in on the activity into your Saturday. So the majority of that not taking place until we had noon, afternoon, and evening of the day on Saturday. Again, a messy go of things, mixed precipitation likely through a majority of our area as well as we head throughout your Saturday. Not going to want to be getting out and about in that by any means. And then we kind of see another surge of moisture take place into your Sunday. And that's where we're watching the potential again of maybe a few thunderstorms in the mix, especially for folks a little bit south, Golden Triangle region and south as well. But still mixed precipitation through a good portion of our area going into your Sunday morning as temperatures look to be right at or below freezing going into Sunday morning as well. By the time we get in the back half of Sunday, this is looking to sit off to the east. So it is exiting on Sunday. Now, exact time of that, again, that can change, but back half of Sunday looks to be when that starts to clear out and move off to the east, and we start to deal with just a lot of cloud cover and whatever's left behind from this messy situation. So that's an overall look of a greater timing, showing you a higher look or region-wide look of all of that, Matt. I'm going to load this out, load your show in if you would like me to.
Absolutely. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring it back in here. I'm going to bring it back to kind of the uglier stuff. I'll pop your chat back up. And what we're going to look at here is some raw model stuff. Let's see if I bring that back up. There we go. Some raw model stuff. And what I'm going to show you is we're looking for consistency in our projections. If they are consistent, we believe it, right? If you trusted your parents growing up, you trusted it because they were consistently loving and caring and always there and took care of you. If you didn't trust them, you didn't trust them because they were consistently inconsistent, not loving and not caring, right? But you built up that opinion because they were consistently one thing or the other in all likelihood. And so same thing happens with our trust when we look at our forecast projections. If they're consistently trustworthy and they do what they say they're going to do, then we trust them more. And even if we don't trust them, if they're consistently doing it, we understand that the consistency is important. Hopefully that made sense. Hopefully that wasn't a terrible analogy. Hopefully that doesn't require therapy now. So, and there's nothing wrong if it does, by the way. I talk to a counselor every 3 weeks. So looking at our projections here, again, and looking in particular hour by hour at the same model at the same time period here, because our new models are coming in right now. The latest model is marginally warmer for locations around the Golden Triangle, we would say on our NAM here. And I could show you 7,000 different models, but they're pretty consistent on where they've had at that particular one. And so I'm going to go to a different website here that I look at a lot. And you might remember a couple days ago, we talked about we only have like 2 models, 3 models to look at this time frame. Well, as you can see, now they're all up and working for at least parts of this event. So I'm picking things up here midway through Saturday. So we've already been a little colder earlier in the day. Where does midday Saturday place the freezing line and thus the impacts there? And on this particular projection at midday Saturday, I'm showing it somewhere southern Itawamba County through Webster County back toward Montgomery County. I can't drag that over there. So let's look at this and see how everything kind of agrees. And a lot of our projections are within about a county of that. Many of them, as you can see, placing it maybe farther south in some cases, some of our older runs from last night. But the majority of those, some of those high resolution ones have it south of Tupelo, but there are some older ones. Yeah, see, some of those go back to yesterday. So let's throw some of those out. We're going to jump right past those. So the majority of these tend to have the freezing line by midday Saturday south of Tupelo. So despite the fact that some of our future cast projections are north and there are other places, the majority of our projections have the freezing line at Tupelo southward, meaning any precipitation that's occurred the first half of the day is going to probably be in that zone as well. We'll go ahead and I'm going to get this to... So unfortunately, we're kind of using some older data here as I try to kind of hack through this so I can give you a comparison. Let's pick it up here now by Saturday. This would be 6 p.m. Saturday. And again, the majority of those projections, that freezing line did not move enough. I know it's moving a lot on here, but I'm looking at the projections run to run on this and seeing how they line up. I think that's 0Z, so that'd be last night's most of see, and that's overdoing the cold air, but this is some really, really cold air back out there into Arkansas. I mean, you're talking 10 degrees versus 32 over a fairly small distance. That's one of our more aggressive projections on that. But most projections, again, keep us below freezing. Chickasaw County, Calhoun County, Webster County, Choctaw County is kind of on the edge there on all these. But takeaway is I'm looking again, this is data that's coming in some cases right now while we're talking about it. That freezing line and where we have had that freezing impact graphic, I think, is pretty well represented there. So this has been our freezing impact graphic where we have had it. And apologize, I have to have this set up a little different because Maggie has to log into her computers a little differently than I do. So this is why we've kind of had that zone there. I think this is still accurate, and I think that on the east side of this is where we have the greatest question. So I'm going to go ahead and telestrate on here. So let's draw on this for a moment. So that freezing line, if I were to put it on there based on where I think most of Saturday it will be, based on the projections I'm looking at there, I would say somewhere around in there. It might not be perfect, but everyone back here is 32 degrees. Hold on, let's make sure I get my greater than less than right. So less than 32 degrees. So everyone over here, it's frozen something based on the latest model analysis. And so that's why it's the greatest icing. You have the longest duration in the event for the locations in orange here. And so it's just then about, are we cold enough? Okay. And if we're cold enough, do we have moisture? Okay. And if we have moisture, how much? And so those are, if you're thinking about this as an equation with three parts, in order for this to be bad for you, it has to be cold enough. It has to be moisture occurring. And then how much moisture occurs. And if any of those things you go to zero, if it's not cold enough, then it doesn't matter. If there's no moisture, then it doesn't matter. And then obviously the amount is the multiplier on it. And that's why when we talk about the thunder portion of it, that could be an efficient multiplier to take the number up quite a bit. So let's look at ice fall accumulations. There are a couple of different ways, a couple of different models, a couple of different types in which we can do that. We're going to look at that using what's called radial icing. I want to see, again, this is our exclusive strike model that allows us to go very far in the future, farther than most other projections. That's not exactly encouraging, but it does have, tenth of an inch of ice. For some locations, that might be encouraging. Again, this is looking all the way to next Friday. This goes a week out, basically, on the lower resolution version. You can kind of see where some of the amounts are there. I'm going to go back to radial. I'm going to take this into edit mode. I've got to remember to save this time. This is not something I remember to save every time. Okay, that is the 3K. That's why it stops. It runs out after 96 hours. It runs out of data. So let's go to the 15K. Let's go that longer time period. Well, this will mainly be over 96 hours. Who am I kidding? Well, let's go just beyond that. There's a system next weekend, but one thing at a time. So what this shows is this does show, again, the icing. And this has some spots out there, Greenville back there, where, again, along, if we're talking about, small round surfaces like, you can see this is not Like, I mean, you can see this is not outages. That's what the radial icing attempts to figure out. And so then we have horizontal icing, and then we'll show kind of the combined here in just a moment. And I thought at one point I had a version of this was the high resolution stuff. Apparently, I did not get all the hours on that. I'm gonna have to stop building this on the fly. Then I'll have it the next time I try to pull it in there. Now, ignore the time at the top because you can see once it gets past around Monday morning, none of this matters, right? Because we're not adding any more ice. But as you can see, this is very significant amounts of what we refer to as horizontal ice, right? This is ice on flat surfaces. Where you have the brighter pinks here, this is over a ½ inch of horizontal ice over large portions of the area. And yeah, I know Tupelo, ½ inch of ice is still a significant event. But inch of ice is potentially a crippling event. And so that's the thing to keep in mind is you might be over in the pink and go, oh, well, it's not as much. It isn't, thank God. But we're talking potentially crippling amounts of ice for some spots. So even I, as a meteorologist, have to keep that in perspective. And I do see someone mention in the chat there, hey, relaunch your apps if the stream freezes. Yeah, that does happen again from time to time here. I like the weather that Nat just froze. Okay, is it better now real quick? Just let me know in the chat there. Maggye will watch it, and she'll pop in there. You can pop your, and by the way, Maggye, is your mic on all this? You need to come over there on the switcher and just click your mic on. Yeah, and you can interject at any time when I go.
You're good.
Off
I think it is now.
Cycles. I do want to bring you in on your thoughts on this for a moment. So kind of looking at what we're looking at there.
Yeah.
Do you have any experience with horizontal versus radial icing on any models? Like, because this is a new thing for me on that.
No, and I'm looking at like total freezing rain QPF on all of our different model runs we look at on Pivotal Weather. But no, I'm not seeing any where it differentiates between horizontal, radial icing. I haven't seen that until you pulled it up within our system.
So we're going to figure out how accurate that is or isn't. So we're going to come back to the one that's more of a mainstay there. And that's going to be, on the future icing here, this is just like the total ice fall accumulations. And notice how there's a couple different parts of this, right? You have everything that occurs Saturday, which is standard fare as ice storms can get, right? That's what this is here. It's like, oh, okay, this is more standard ice. I'll bring it back here for a moment. And then we'll change it back. Nope. God, I have to break everything when I have Maggye on and controlling stuff, and then I have to change it completely different by the time it's me and Gabe. Okay, so this is kind of the first batch there. This is Saturday. And this, by the way, is higher in some spots than it was yesterday. I think I got your microphone on, Maggye, there. Correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah. I feel like icing on strike model was not this high in Tupelo yesterday. Is that fair to say, especially on the first part of this?
No, it wasn't. It's bringing more in on Saturday.
That means it's catching the cold air. And that was one of the biases that talking to the folks at Panhandle Weather, Dan Nyman, one of the smartest people I know, one of the meteorologists at Panhandle Weather, graduated from Smart People Aviation School, and just an incredible computer programmer. The only way we're able to actually run commercial breaks here is because of something he programmed. Honestly, one of the smartest people I know. And one of the first things he said is when we had winter weather here at the coast, and yes, they did, he's like, the strike model, Baron 3K is what it's called behind the scenes. The strike model was too warm initially, and it did not resolve evaporative cooling well enough. That to say, as it sees more evaporative cooling, it now has adjusted temperatures down. This is with the initial waves of the ice, and you can see this is still fairly significant amounts. I'm going to see if this lets me divide this up based on time. So give me a moment to try to trick my system here. Exact time. Let's see if we can pick this up Sunday. at basically midnight. See, at the same time here, if it'll start accumulations from there. It does not. Well, that was a nice idea. Oh, well. Forecast, 0 hours. Okay. And your mic is still open. Okay, good. Okay, so let's then walk through. So the initial wave there through Saturday evening. Now watch what happens early Sunday morning. And this is where that thunder whatever comes in. We go from some amounts to some of these much heavier amounts. Not everybody. And you only see it. I'll see if I can get out of the way here. I'm looking back here toward Belzona and there, Carroll County. See how that goes from, hey, we've had very little there at 1:30 a.m. Right there, Carroll County. I'll circle the spot I'm watching. Well, actually, let's put it on there so I make sure I'm circling the right spot. And I think green, oh, I can't circle it. I got to take this to play mode. Ah, man, that's okay. Okay, well, put my finger right where it is. I guess I do have a pointing device there. But that would be more than 2 inches of ice is what this is saying in this purple kind of blue sort of line there. And again, positioning is different. It was Calhoun County last night. It's not now, is it? So as we go back there, you go back to late Saturday night. This has had, I mean, check the colors, less than a 1/4 inch. And then it almost immediately, within a course of hours there, let's see where it is. We are, what, 2, 3 o'clock, right there where my finger is. There, starts 4 a.m. And by 8 a.m., 9 a.m., you've had 2 inches of ice. That is convective ice fall, meaning that is thunder sleet, thunder freezing rain, thunder something happening in a big, big hurry. And you can see the impact there. It shows 2 inches of something right next to 2/10 of something. Almost nothing. Major power problems, travel problems, everything problems over less than a county difference. You want to know what keeps me up at night from a forecast standpoint? That. Because if you miss the wrong person on that, they're going to tell you you were wrong. Technically, they'll be right, but there's no way to nail where the exact thunderstorm is. It's like trying to guess which bubble on your pot of macaroni and cheese, when the heat's turned on, that which bubble's going to rise first. Well, that one looks like it's going to go first. That one might be, that was the first bubble to go as it starts to boil. We're not that good. Only God's that good. I'll bring Maggie back on the screen here for a moment. As we kind of look at a few other things. I don't agree with the positioning on any of this yet, but that tells us that you have low confidence, high impact potential out of this event. From a forecast perspective and from a real life perspective, that's always concerning.
Yeah, no, I agree. And even looking at the model runs this morning of where they were placing that highest potential for the ice accumulation, one, they're pretty much all different, especially when it comes to that high of the ice accumulation. So that's why we're not giving you specific even counties, towns. We're giving you generalized areas of where we're watching for this, because that's what we're comfortable with this morning. That's as accurate as we can be. But just know within those areas that we do highlight, that's where we're watching for the potential of that ice to become very, very impactful going into the weekend, where we could see those potential power outages within those specific counties, those specific even cities within the counties that will be different. So definitely take an eye and looking at this. And look, we're looking at a lot of different products. You're probably like, why are we looking at all this stuff? Because a lot of them are different between where exactly they place that. And we want to show you what we're looking at so you know why we're not giving you specific accumulations in the specific cities. And I think the Ice Finder also helps with that, Matt. It shows our confidence level and then where they're putting that accumulation as well.
And the confidence level, much, much greater for locations back west, because they'll all be below freezing more likely. Yeah. And so then it's just about, okay, well, where are we placing the right amount of moisture at the right time? We're on the battlefront of this. And that's the reason why you are not going to show our Ice Finder go to completely high confidence because of that freezing line close to the surface. But this, again, something you'll see only here on Mississippi Live, and works better 3-4 days out than necessarily a day or so in front. But I want to, because we've shown it this week, have an idea. I mean, this is a good example here. The red that you see behind Maggye, basically at home. Good luck to your family.
Yeah, no joke.
High confidence that they will have ice, but notice your highest ice fall amounts We show Corinth, Oxford, Grenada, even at that point there, where there's virtually no confidence showing up on that, right? For spots there, it doesn't show hardly anything. And that is because we don't know exactly where that freezing line is. So to show you that the most confident locations for ice are not where it shows the greatest accumulations, the main reason I wanted to show this is even, only a couple of days out now at this point here, it still shows that it's not impossible to get some ice fall out there, Hamilton, Alabama, or Aberdeen and Amory, or Louisville, or even Columbus. But there's clearly a bullseye here where when we look at the greatest confidence to see some kind of impactful ice accumulation, while we're going to debate Tupelo and Houston and Calhoun City and Eupora and Kosciuszko until it stops falling on Sunday, we're not debating that Water Valley, we're not debating that Charleston, that Cleveland, that Greenville, that Greenwood are going to have ice and potentially some debilitating ice that could cause power outages, that will cause travel to be completely upended. New Albany, Ripley, Corinth, you're all in that group there, and Maggye and Senatobia and Sardis there and Clarksdale. There's going to be enough ice in that zone that you're not going to be able to go anywhere. We just keep obsessing over the east side of this because, were you good at math? I was okay at math. I was pretty good from time to time.
A little bit.
Yeah, right. The thing I love about math is you get an answer. At the end of doing it, right or wrong, hopefully it's right, you get an answer if you put in the information. And Tupelo and Houston and Eupora and Amory and Aberdeen and Fulton are still an unsolvable equation at this point because the one factor, that surface temperature, we don't know. And so I apologize if I'm obsessing over those cities. My brain is thinking the next thing I look at, I'm going to have that hard, I know for sure opinion. And I got to remember, Maggye, that this is, forecasting the future. And sometimes you just don't get that kind of certainty.
Yeah, well, especially winter weather, though, in the South, right? And here, it very seldomly do we get like this straightforward answer of who, what, when, where, going into this event or going a day before even at some portions. But I think we can agree, though, from where I'm sitting here in Tate County in Senatobia to where you're sitting in Tupelo, there's going to be some major impacts. That's where we're looking at this area of very impactful ice accumulation that could cause those power outages. I mean, we're talking ice accumulation over a half of an inch, depending on where you are within those specific locations, could be an inch or greater that would cause major travel disruptions. And that's that main area we're watching. Any thoughts on that, Matt? I know we were talking about this little
Here's the question real quick here. We won't talk about the transition for a second. I want to ask you a real question. What do you think you're going to get at home? What do you think you'll get there in Senatobia? If you're throwing out your number, walking out on your front porch, combination of sleet and freezing rain, how much do you think you'll get for your total accumulation?
I don't know. You're putting sleet, freezing rain. I think we could still get, I know we don't want to say this, but I think we could still get a little bit of a dusting of snow before this.
I think on the backside we could get a dusting of snow. I think you're right there. I think you kind of code at the end.
But I don't know. I don't want to put numbers to it. I hope that we don't see that inch. But I think all things put together, that area could see, if you put sleet with it, an inch. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know. I don't want to say for sure. I know people are watching. I know everyone's been texting me too, Matt. What are we getting? What are we getting? And I've been having to.
Mine's the same way. Let's say this. Okay, yeah. As my
But what are your thoughts? Wait, Matt. I want to know what your thoughts are for your home. Do you have any on the little corridor of this?
So I would say that somewhere between you and me picks up an inch of sleet and freezing rain easy. Somewhere between you and me does. I think the maximum accumulation in our area, if you leave thunder something out of it, is maybe an inch and tenth. If you add thunder something into it, I don't want to be quoted on that number. It could be bad.
Yeah.
Easy. I
don't either. And I think we're both kind of sitting on the
more than that, easily reasonable. Yeah, I think we're again on the edge here. Somewhere between you and I is where they really kind of get hit. It's interesting to say
Yeah.
that Gabe lives in northern Lee County. I live in northern Lee County, but the distance between his house and my house only about, I don't know, 4 miles or so. But it's highly likely he gets more there. And because that's highly likely, his power is more likely to go out than mine is. Well, unless the line goes out, there's some tree branches over it, at least part of the run back to the road. I'm in the middle of a forest, so we'll see. Luckily, my power is underground through part of it.
Oh, yeah, that's good. That's good. But I don't know, when we're leading up to the northwest corner of the state, all the way to where we're having that questionable extreme accumulation, I don't know. I think anywhere between a quarter to a half is fair game. And then the closer you get into that corridor, around an inch. Or a half an inch to an inch.
Here's one of the questions, and it does matter. But one of the things people ask you at school visits, I'm sure from time to time, is, has there ever been an EF6 tornado? Anybody ever asked you that question before? So,
not recently, but I know I have been asked that. I've been speaking to kindergartners recently, though, so they don't necessarily ask those questions.
Well, but kindergartners do sometimes say, they're like, okay, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
They're like a really big tornado.
What about 6? 6 or 7? We're not going to end up getting. Sorry, I couldn't resist. We're right there. The reason that EF6 tornado doesn't exist is because you get complete destruction out of an EF5 tornado. So there's no purpose in an EF6, right? Could there be stronger winds? Right. Yes, but we don't directly measure winds to determine the tornado. We figure out tornado based on damage. And so when you get above an inch of ice, does it matter? Yes, but you've already knocked out power. You've already kept people at their location for a number of days. You've already had a lot of the main impacts. Everything over that, yes, it matters on the level of crippling, but you've already seen some of the highest end impacts. And so all that to say, inch of ice is about as high as we forecast this far out. I think I've ever, said this far out. I don't know if I've ever said inch of ice on the air, if I'm honest. I'm trying to think about it, because ultimately half inch usually does the job. But because more than an inch and more than 2 inches is on the table for some spots, it makes saying inch of ice easy.
It is. I don't think I've ever said it, but I think you're right. When you go over an inch, you transition to what's going to happen more than how much are we going to see, because that's what becomes more impactful. You're not going to want to go measure it in your yard. You're going to be talking about when the power and when you can get out is going to be happening.
Yeah. So let's go back to the chat here for a minute, and if you can behind the scenes, go ahead and because clearly it forces me to click the right one of these each time. Go and click your audio back on over there so we can talk. But I wanted to pull the chat up with that there. Oh man, I pulled the chat up and I changed it off. Okay, so as a lot of questions up there. Yes, I did 6-7 you. 1 inch of ice above a twig and 1 inch of ice below a twig. Yeah, essentially that's what it is. When we talk about that, I don't know that we're getting radial icing to an inch around, which essentially makes 2 inches there. That's one of the things on our projections that remains unseen. But flat surface ice, somebody probably picks up a combination sleet and freezing rain in excess of an inch. I would be shocked if somebody didn't. I would not be surprised, though I'm not going to say it's for sure going to happen. I would not be surprised if someone picked up in excess of 2 inches of ice when you figure in the sleet component to it. I think that's reasonable. That wouldn't surprise me at all. Let me go ahead and mute my my alerts here, because we've hit that time of day where they're starting to kind of pop up, because everybody, same situation with you, Maggie, I'm sure everybody wants to know. So let's answer some of those questions. We've talked about that there. Go ahead.
Matt, I think a lot of us are also, or a lot of people are asking about, so if I don't get power, when is my power going to be back on? And I think that's just something, one, we can't answer. But two, I mean, it depends on how many power outages we see, right? And that's going to cause companies to have more to do going into next week.
And it also comes down to what part of the infrastructure has failure. Is it the line between your house and the road? It's possible that if it's a bunch of lines between your house and the road, or the localized ones, it takes a long time for them to go back and hook up all those individual power sources. So that can extend it. If it's a main line because there's been 2 inches of icing, which, 2 inches of radial icing, probably not going to happen. Dear God, I hope not. I'm not going to say probably not going to happen. I'm going to say is not our forecast at this point. But 2 inches of radial icing, if you have a main transmission line that gets that and a huge transmission line goes down, it can take out a large portion of the area, but probably for a shorter duration, meaning days, not weeks. But let's be clear that if some of these high-end ice fall totals that at this point are pegging some locations in kind of the eastern delta, if they happen, and say they happen once we get into more of the hills, where we have more of the trees, that you could potentially be talking about power outages for longer than just days. Hopefully that's not the case, but that remains a real possibility. I got to get my alerts to stop here, Maggie. I know they're not going to stop.
No,
if
you're
it's
fine.
anything
You're fine.
like mine, but I'm just going to try to get the dinging to stop because anyway. Oh, I do need to quickly
More people
say
are talking about
yeah, go ahead.
like salt trucks and how they haven't seen any of those. I know you hit on that earlier this week. Do you want to?
So here's the issue with salt trucks. What are we talking about? One of our precip types here. We're talking about freezing rain. What does rain do? It washes things away, right? Wash the spider out. The itsy bitsy spider there.
That's a good analogy right there.
Yeah, I mean, if you put thank you. I haven't done that song in a while. But we're talking freezing rain, right? That's rain, and we have not shown this morning. I want to see this. It should be in the show from last night. There we are. Let's show this here, and this is going to be rainfall totals from this. This largely a lot of this falls as rain. And by the way, I just want to say that this is our strike model. I don't agree necessarily with the positioning of its highest stripe of moisture, but I'm showing it to show you it has some spots where the accumulations of rain or moisture in excess of 4 inches, almost 5 inches there. If I were to pull the middle of that area and query that, that's a lot of liquid precipitation if you melted it all down. So this isn't rainfall. This is total if you melted it, ice melt, rain melt. This is what the total amounts of that. And so the percentage of this that ends up ice obviously has major, major impacts. And that's where at least part of this comes in here. So let's change over and let's look at the HRRR. Actually, no, I'm going to go behind the scenes on that kind of stuff. You call out stuff that you're seeing here. Hey, no, hold on a second here. Maggie, will you help me with something? I got to sing real quick here. Oh, we're not going to be able to do this because there's a time frame here. So I apologize to everyone. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Emily Mama. Happy birthday to you. Yay. 29 this year. Looking good. Love you too.
Happy birthday, Emily.
She says thank you. Every year something happens on her birthday. Last year I got rehired. Year before that, I don't remember what it was. Year before that, I got a new truck. Yeah, year before that, there's always like Emmy entries are due on her birthday. I always get something happens on her birthday. So her present today is the sitter's coming in early. And I'm going to send up an extra prayer that she has power next week. So anyway.
What a gift. What a gift.
Yeah. What a gift, right? Life.
At least it's not coming in on her birthday as bad as we previously thought earlier this week.
She gets to have a day where she doesn't have to deal with me because I'll be dealing with everybody else all day long. Total QPF. Actually, 24-hour QPF might be better. Well, let's do total because I know it'll do all the models. And let's take this time frame to the end of this event. So let's go 60 hours out. We'll use all of them that we have. So this is one of our concerns here. So even on our lower resolution models, this is how much total moisture are we talking about? And you could see fairly widespread amounts over an inch, in some cases well over an inch, and that has 3 inches close on some of our projections here, not far removed from 4 inches. So most have somewhere around an inch on a fairly widespread scale. Some go over 3 inches of moisture. Not all of this. In fact, most of this, I want to see this. We're going to look at that 12Z NAM? 12Z NAM's out. Hey, will you look at that behind the scenes here to find out how
I
ugly
will.
that's going to get? Because that's far north to have that much precipitation there. 4 or 5 inches that far north. I need to know what that's going to fall as. And I don't want to run blindly into that showing that much ice. I want to at least be able to prepare my way of describing this. But our overall forecast.
Yeah, I wouldn't look at that. I wouldn't. I just wouldn't.
You know what? We are 2 hours into this broadcast. What difference does it make at this point?
Can,
let's show the people what we've got, and let's reasonably kind of talk about this. Let's put our cards on the table. Okay, I'm going to show that through COD because I at least understand the color table over here. Okay.
Blessings to you.
I think blessings to you, right?
It's true.
Even they go, I mean, is there a point going past 2 on the scale?
No, but it's doing it.
So there's Maggie's house.
And it has it further north, like you said.
Huh?
It has it further north, like you were talking about.
So, and this is specifically outlined on this as freezing rain accumulations.
Mm-hmm.
Not sleet, but freezing rain accumulations. Let's walk this through precipitation type. I can pull up that in the back here, and let's go NAM. We'll pull up the NAM 3K Futurecast. Does it have Futurecast and temperatures? And let's come back here to this. This is kind of the wide. Oh, I thought I should have got DMA. Hold on. There we are. Let's pull this in. Okay.
I mean, it's bringing it all the way into Sunday noon. Sorry, go ahead and show them. I was looking at
No, you're good. You're good. So I think this only goes 48 hours. I need that to go 60 hours. 60 hours. By the way, at the end of this, again, we'll make some calls on what we're expecting here. But and this is where that mega stripe it had up here. You could see Saturday. This is farther south in the colder air. This was yesterday one of our warmer bottles. Is that fair to say?
Yes. Yeah. And it's not there today.
I can't see. Why to pull off my glasses? Okay.
If you take it into Sunday.
Yeah, I know. But these purples down here, that's awfully deep. That's awfully heavy precipitation. If it's not as heavy as that indicates there, that has a magnifying effect on the, well, we're going to look at Cape. Will you look at Cape for Saturday afternoon? I know that Sunday's when it kind of peaks. But I mean, that's pretty heavy there. And that looks almost borderline convective as well on Saturday afternoon. We have not seen much convective, much thunder, anything on Saturday afternoon on any other projection. So I want more on this. But look how this keeps. This is why we've held the line there. This is why we talked a lot about the fact that that some of the models were warmer, and we said don't buy that yet, because here's that cold bias coming in, or that cold shift coming in. Because I don't know how many times I said dense cold air is traditionally poorly represented in models and can sometimes come in at the last second and show more of this. Okay, so let's look at I've got to move this because I'm standing. The natural way in which all our graphics put, I end up standing over the delta, and I apologize for that, at least where my mouse and everything is positioned here at home. I need to get as far to the edge as I can to show you, because this is where that mega ice accumulation happens here. It's the overnight and the Saturday night into early Sunday morning on our high resolution NAM. Look at that. That's thunder stumping there Saturday evening. And it shows it all going to 33. Okay. Well, at least there's some hope that maybe it goes a little warmer, but that's as it goes convective. And then this band right there. Look at that. That's basically thunderstorms. Now that makes me, that's thunderstorms. And you can get an inch or more of rainfall from a thunderstorm in an hour. You know this, rainfall rates can be up around 4 or 5 inches per hour under a heavy summertime thunderstorm. A wintertime CSI convective. Oh, what is it? Conditional. What is it? It's slantwise convection. What's CSI stand for? Do you remember?
No, I'm trying.
Anyway, it's slantwise convection. And so anyway, in this situation, you're not going to get as high rainfall totals, but an inch or more of rain an hour out of these storms is not impossible. That's where it says if you're getting that thunder sleet even for a little bit, or thunder freezing rain even for a little bit, you've got major problems. And this is where this model in particular goes very rough for locations back northwest. I would say this is hopeful in that this gets a lot of us back up above freezing in the early morning hours of Sunday, but that then enhances the storm potential somewhat more on this as well. And when I say storms, this is not tornadoes in our area out of this kind of setup. I will say this, one of the interesting things, I don't know if you looked at STP this morning, but I happened to, one of the things that I looked at a minute ago there, Maggie, but let's pull it up on here. Let's go convective for a second. Again, look at that cape that Maggie and I were talking about, that instability. And there is some here by midday in the afternoon on Saturday. That's what this represents, the purple. So there's some instability up here, afternoon Saturday, and then we kind of focus everything for early Sunday. But there's this area where there's a little bit more unstable air down in South Mississippi there, and a window where it's not impossible. You could talk about rotating thunderstorms down there out of this. That's how much warm air has come into the system, that now I would say severe weather and tornadoes are not an impossibility down closer to the coast.
They do have a marginal risk on day 3 outlook on the coast.
Yeah, and that's where that comes in. 2026, y'all. Maybe this is just life. Do I need to stop saying that? That started in 2020. I started saying that, and then maybe I just need to stop saying the year. You know, it's things happen. It just happens. But okay. So thoughts on this. We're going to talk theoretical thoughts on this for a minute. At some point, we will answer some questions. Dear Lord, please let me answer their questions at some point. Okay. Do you see how this is kind of? I'm going to pull up I'm going to put layer temperatures on the prettier model for a second, because I'm interested to see what you think about is going on here. Are we getting warmed by the rain falling in? Is rain instead of, because it's I think it's warming it, right?
Yeah, for sure. Especially into Sunday. I mean, you can see that line between 29 to middle 30s on Sunday morning.
This is the coolest and craziest thing I've seen the models kick out with this event so far, and we've seen a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
Those spots there where you see it get a little bit warmer, right? I mean, it might not look warmer, but those middle blues there are warmer than the light blues, right? When you're looking out there close to Kosciuszko and Greenville and all this, if you pop off the precipitation, you can see that's where the showers are. As the rain is falling, it's warming the atmosphere. You know, Joel and I talked about this yesterday. Joel Young used to be at the TV station with us. We talked about that you could get some of that there. It's interesting to see a model resolve that. You know, is it enough effective? I think if you get your heaviest rainfall amounts, where you get to where more than an inch to 2 inches of rainfall per hour, is it possible then that heaviest rainfall doesn't have enough time to freeze, even if it's below freezing, and it shoves the temperature up a little bit? I think that's possible.
I think it is, especially the closer you get to that line, right? Where it's just hovering right there. Mm-hmm. I think it could shove it up, like a Talon County 32. Yeah. I think it can definitely do that.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I see someone talking about tornadic activity. Of course, join the conversation ongoing over here. I'm sorry, this is such a long live stream. There's just so much to kind of unpack with this. And I think we will wrap it up in a minute, because we're never going to, again, solve the equation. We're never going to get to the final answer on this. but someone mentioning tornadoes again, South Mississippi in particular, where and into South Alabama. That's most likely. It would be a stretch to get it all the way up here into North Mississippi. Stupider things have happened. Hopefully that's not the case. But we are still looking 2 days out. We're looking Sunday in particular for that potential. So we shall see. What have we not shown? I feel like, we've shown just about anything. Haven't shown the 7-day in a while.
I was about to say, we haven't seen the 7-day in a hot minute.
I'll tell you this, tomorrow, I do probably want to, if we're going to do this, probably have 7-day kind of the beginning of the V block.
Right.
Because I did that last night as well to ensure that you at least get the 7-day. Of course, our 24-hour channel has that 7-day on there, all the time. Why are we showing the 7-day? A couple things. Okay, so I want your opinion on Monday, Tuesday morning. With less snow, less icebox effect, my opinion is we have to come up a little bit. I see your 12 and 7. Thoughts on those? Are we too cold Tuesday morning on that?
I think we could be. We're continuing to trend it slightly upward as the models are going that way. But I think definitely without the pack of snow, that 7 is probably going to turn more into the low to middle teens on Monday too, which is still cold, but not as cold as previously thought.
Yeah, or it's kind of the worst case scenario would be. Okay, let's go through some questions here. I do want to say that one of the things coming in our discussion with some of the other folks there, Winona police officers are planning to offer rides to healthcare workers during the winter storm. And the reason I bring that up, it's an example of the many, many ways here in North Mississippi, people, take care of other people. Be thinking about who in your sphere you can connect with over the next few days here to make sure they're okay and they can make sure you're okay as well. This is our opportunity as good citizens. I would say, in my case, as a person of faith, but as good citizens, to take care of our brothers and sisters around us. So be thinking who in your sphere you can be helpful to over the course of the next week. Excited to hear of the Winona Police Department doing that for healthcare workers who reside within the Winona city limits. They're going to be doing that. So they're not going out in the county and bringing people in, but within the city limits there, they will hopefully help them take care of it. That's ways in which, on official channels, that's the case. Speaking of another way you can kind of keep up with it, we do have the ability and will be showing school closings at msliveweather.com. That's msliveweather.com, also in the Mississippi Live Weather app. Someone with the Lee County Schools texted me a minute ago trying to make sure that, they have our contact information. The way in which that'll happen is the administrators will actually go to our website and submit it that way there. So I'll send him the link back so that they can do that. We have had some fake submissions. The beauty is that we can tell pretty easily they're fake submissions for a number of reasons. And we do have your IP number when you submit it. So that means we can tell whoever we need to tell if something gets by. So hopefully we don't end up letting any of those fake ones go onto the website. This is new, something we're learning about. We can pretty easily spot most of them. But if something gets by us and something goes wrong and something gets on there, we've got that IP number of yours. So we'll be able to let the authorities know if that happens to be something that disrupts lots of people. Hopefully that's not the case. We'll see. It's more likely than not that if it gets on there that it's accurate. It's possible that there could be some that are accurate that don't make it on there. So hopefully we'll have that full list for you Monday morning. There will probably be some that fall into that. Obviously there's none for today. I'm gonna bring Maggie in here for a second. Kind of final thoughts as we sort of wrap things up.
I think you did it well saying today's the day to check on your people, right? And we've been talking about that. I talked about that some this morning, but today's the day, the final day when things aren't going to be messy going into Saturday. Majority of the day you have to check on your folks, are more susceptible to the cold and that have a hard time maybe getting around and about anyway. Other thing is pretty likely to see a wintry mix throughout all the way into your Sunday. Probably going to have some travel disruptions, probably going to have at least some power outages as well going into your weekend. So that's just something to be thinking about and be prepared for as we head further into time, as we head tonight, tomorrow, into Sunday. Our threat levels, of course, something to always keep in mind. accumulating snowfall is the number one thing that we're not necessarily going to be seeing for a majority area. Can't rule out a dusting in some of our northern counties. Most of us seeing this right here, accumulating ice and sleet that continues to look likely for a majority of the area. So that is why we're talking about that level 5 for travel impacts. Still looking at the potential for a few thunderstorms that try to creep in that could add into that accumulation of ice and sleet over the area, causing for specific locations that we're going to continue to hone in on. Could see ice greater than an inch that would cause major travel disruptions and power outages within those specific areas. And then, of course, we're looking at those sub-freezing temperatures. We've been talking about the temperatures going back and forth on Monday and Tuesday morning, being pretty chilly, maybe having to adjust those a degree or two, but still well below freezing. So very cold air still filtering in after the weekend, keeping whatever falls on the weekend around at least for a good portion of the day on Monday, and then for the start at least of your Tuesday as well. Here's what you can expect your primary precipitation type. This is not saying we couldn't see a little bit of a dusting in the very northern section of our counties up here closer to the Tennessee state line. That's not saying we couldn't see a little bit of a wintry mix creeping into places like Lowndes County, but this is the primary precipitation type that you should expect all the way through your Sunday. Most of us, that wintry mix. Going further south and east, looking more like some rain out there, and we're still honing in again on that peak impact area of those who could see ice accumulations that would lead to more major disruptions in travel and power. Matt?
So this is where you had the line this morning. We didn't make a whole lot of adjustments. I think everything else was probably the same from yesterday, right? You kind of had that there.
Yeah.
So I think that, again, this could really go either way out here if we're talking about Franklin and Marion County, Alabama, and Vernon, Alabama, the northern part of the state there. You can make an argument maybe that's a little bit of rainfall, but we're really kind of splitting hairs because I think looking at that latest NAM, there's at least points where each of those folks still possibly see it as well. So I think either one of our graphics, we have not really adjusted the main portion there. Our main kind of target zone here remains, I think, fairly intact. You could make an argument that maybe this needs to go farther back to the north and west based on some models there as well. So expanded as opposed to contracted. Fair statement?
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. And I think that's why it's so important for folks at home to continue to watch this evening, continue to watch on Saturday as we see what's going to be happening in more of the high resolution data, and then what actually ends up falling on the ground, and we'll adjust that kind of peak impact area. But yeah, I'd say it's fair to expand it. But overall, we know someone within this area could see over accumulation through Sunday, potentially over an inch of ice. And that's why we're really honing in on what to expect in terms of impact-wise, based on giving you a number for everybody.
So I think you accidentally said something that I need to write down. You said over accumulation, right? I think it's possible somebody could see over accumulation because we have the expectation. But if any of the thunder something gets in here, that's where you go over that expectation on accumulation. So there's a big difference over small distances here. And that's really going to, take what could be a low confidence situation when it comes to you're right at the edge, maybe you're on the rain side, and push it the wrong way by, just a couple of miles. That can get rough. Okay. So I'm pop up the chat one more time here, and then I think we'll kind of wrap things up. Our meteorologist, Maggye McCauley, been on this since early this morning here, and we appreciate her. We'll be talking more about this next couple of days. As things are falling, we'll be using your pictures. You can submit your pictures using the Mississippi Live Weather app, free and available. Of course, live stream ongoing in that app as it has been. More of you utilizing it. And if you have not yet downloaded the app, there are benefits to the app like alerts and other things, the information, great radar. And the cool thing about it is that when we start talking about short fuse, like severe weather, you get the alert that says severe thunderstorm tornado warning has been issued for your area. You pop it up, and the first thing that shows up in the app is our faces talking about whatever is going on at that point. So if we're live on there. And you can watch us anytime. The 24-hour channel, obviously good. I believe in what it does there. And you can support the sponsors that support us here on Mississippi Live Weather. It's the only way we can keep doing this. iOS, Android. We do also, as I clear that off there, have apps for Roku Apple TV. We do not have one for Fire Stick at this point. Eventually, some point, maybe that'll happen. But on Fire Stick, you can look us up on YouTube, and we're on YouTube Live there. That's where a lot of our commenters end up coming from related to this. So again, what to expect? I'm showing you the same map I showed you yesterday. While we've had lots of flipping and flopping on lots of things, this is the exact same map Maggye and I made at about this time yesterday morning. And I still think it largely remains the same. Could it wobble a little bit back to the north and west here on some of the peak ice? That is a possibility. And that's something we will be adjusting and honing in on as we go throughout the next 24-hour period. Our next live broadcast is going to be coming up at 5 p.m. today. Unless we have some kind of an upgrade, possibly around midday, I do something short. Dear Lord, may it be short for their sake. 6 p.m., 5 p.m., 10 p.m. tonight. We'll be here in the Room to Room Weather Center, and then we're back tomorrow morning. We typically don't do weekend mornings, but we're back tomorrow morning. Maggye and I will powwow and figure out exactly what time makes sense there. Probably somewhere around 7 a.m. to 7:30 a.m. We'll be back on here in the Room to Room Weather Center to get you prepared. If we've had more significant icing and impact overnight, it could end up being a little bit earlier. It might be 6:30. I don't foresee it being earlier than that. But of course, we'll be here to let you know and keep you up to date on the latest. Thank you for liking and subscribing. Thank you to Room to Room for sponsoring our Weather Center, being a big partner with us since basically day one. And we will see you for those live broadcasts a little later on today. For meteorologist Maggye McCauley, I'm meteorologist Matt Lawpon. Keep it here for the latest, and we'll keep you up to date. Thank you once again for being with us here on Mississippi Live Weather.
Growing up, Gabe was naturally curious. When he began to discover weather, Gabe just didn't want to know what was happening, but he wanted to know why it was happening. Gabe became fascinated with tornadoes, and it impacted his life. He wanted to pursue a career in meteorology. Even though Gabe grew up in Alabama, Mississippi has now become his home and his family. And one thing about Gabe is he keeps his family safe.